First of all, Jordan Hyde, John Flanagan, new deals, your reaction to that?
Delighted. Two very important young players for the now and for the future of the club, and I'm delighted because both players thoroughly deserve it, and allows them to concentrate really on the next part of their career here at a great club.
Obviously Raheem Sterling falls into that kind of category as well in terms of young player now.
Yeah.
With the events of this week, the meeting that was planned for today, talk of bullying into, or trying attempts to bully into signing a deal, things like that. What's your perspective on what's gone on this week, and how have we got to this situation now?
Well, it's very difficult to comment on what other people speak about, but we've always been very, very clear here at Liverpool. If we have any discussions, any meetings to take place, whether it's with players, manager, whatever, it will all be dealt with internally. You know, we don't like to, as I said, to publicise what we're going to do. We just look to do it in-house and as private as possibly can be. So for me, as I said, the concentration for myself is to continue to improve Raheem as a football player. But the facts of everything are very, very simple. Raheem, whether there was talks or no talks, has 2 years left on his deal at Liverpool, and I expect him to see that 2 years through and continue to behave as immaculately as he's done in the time that I've come into the club. So for me, it's quite simple.
How though, after today's meeting has been cancelled, and why was that meeting cancelled, but how do you seek a resolution given that he's got 2 years left on his deal? Because you can't have a situation where a player's unhappy for those 2 years, can you?
No, and I don't see Raheem being unhappy. I think Raheem's representative made it very clear that they wanted to speak at the end of the season. So for us, our concentration is really on the last game of the season, and then I'm sure talks will take place over the course of the summer. But I don't see Raheem unhappy. He's a young boy who's developed incredibly well over the last nearly 3 seasons, and we hope that development will take place further here.
What impact, though, Brendan, has this had on your relationship with the player? And is he going to be available? Are you taking him out of the first team picture this weekend?
No, but well, if he's fit, which at this moment in time he is, he'll be available for selection, like he's been nearly every game. So my relationship, it hasn't been affected at all with that. I've given Raheem an opportunity here to play for one of the greatest clubs in the world, and he's done exceptionally well in taking that opportunity. So for me, what goes on with contracts, and of course we want to resolve the situation with respect to that, but for me it doesn't change my approach to him. You know, I still always maintain that this is a really, really good boy. He's a good kid who's matured very, very well over the last few years. He's a wonderful young football player, and that's my only concentration. So it's there's no problem there.
Brendan, are you disappointed though about how public and ugly this has all got in the last week or so?
Well, your preference is of course, and how we like to work here, is to keep everything behind closed doors. As I said, I can't speak for what other people may say or do. We can only control our own business here.
In terms of Raheem as well, there was a small reaction to him at the Player of the Year Awards. Are you concerned ahead of the game at Stoke, because this situation has escalated, that might be worse from the fans?
Listen, the Liverpool supporters always back their own players, and if he starts or doesn't start at the weekend or plays any part in the game, then he will get the support of the supporters. You know, the away support in particular has been absolutely incredible. Every game, you know, the stands are packed, and they give us great support, and that's for every single player. So I wouldn't expect that to change.
Thank you. Brendan, did Raheem tell you he wanted to go before that game on Chelsea?
Well, again, what he said and didn't say will always be between him and I.
But the fact that his agent is now so publicly coming out and saying that Raheem wants to go. Does that not make this situation untenable? The fact that you're not able to say he didn't tell you that suggests there is something in this.
No, what I'm saying to you is that whatever conversation I would have with a player or a member of staff will always remain that. And it's as simple as that. I certainly won't sit here today and tell you what a private conversation entailed. But what he said and didn't say would remain between us.
Have the owners been involved at all? Yesterday's decision to cancel the meeting, with the ongoing situation that's now so ugly and so public, they were obviously very heavily involved with a similar situation with Luis Suarez a few years ago, dug their heels in there. Are they saying there's absolutely no way this player is sold as well?
Well, I think the ownership have shown their strength and their time here. You know, they took over a club a number of years ago that was in a really, really critical situation, and they've done an incredible job over these last numbers of years to stabilise the club and to point the club in the right direction. And in every opportunity when they've had to show that strength, whether it's with a player or other elements of the club, they've done that. So, and in this situation, like in other situations, they will show that power and that strength again.
You've shown in the past you can maybe talk a player around like Luis Suarez, who seemed destined to leave. Do you think you can do it again with Raheem?
It's not the talk for today, really. The talk was about our game. You know, I talk constantly with the players. There's regular communication with the players, and Raheem's no different to that. But as I said, I repeat, the simple facts are Raheem's got 2 years left on his contract here, and that's the simplicity of where it stands at the moment.
Jules, anything from the perspective, James?
It is the final game of the season, Brendan, tomorrow. You yet to mathematically get European qualification. How much is that in your mind going into this game?
Well, I've said at the beginning of the season it was for us to finish as high as we possibly can, and that is the aim for the game. You know, our season doesn't finish until the whistle blows on Sunday, so it'll be a tough game for us away at Stoke. But we go there and we want to finish the season strong. I always, you know, believe that it's a good sign of the team if they can keep going right to the very end, and that'll be our ambition for the game against Stoke.
And it's a certain Steven Gerrard's final game for Liverpool tomorrow. After the emotion of last week, how able is he to take part in the game tomorrow?
Well, he'll be very able. Probably for Steven, I'm sure for him it's been a huge relief, really. You know, leading into your last game at Anfield, which has been his home for 17 odd years, there was probably a whole load of emotion in that last week for him. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the result. Our performance level wasn't what we'd expected, but I think the crowd and the supporters recognised the moment as well, and gave him a great send-off from Anfield. So I'm sure for him, huge sigh of relief, and now he can, which he has done, he's worked well this week, concentrating on the game for Sunday.
Chris,
just going into this last game, how would you reflect on the season?
I'll do that at the end of the season.
any final one, or are you happy?
How are you squad-wise, anyway, Brendan, as well?
Yeah, no, we got most players fit and available. Mario will be a doubt, so we'll see how he is over the next couple of days. But apart from that, most are fit and able.